Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the live stream. I hope you're all very well this evening. Let's see who's on the stream tonight. We have Raven83 Witch, great to see you. 1983 Witch, I should say. We have Enzo the God, great to see you, Enzo. Hope you're well. We have also Killer, great to have you on. Thanks for moderating once again. Chatty Rat, great to see you, Chatty. FSM is the dog. FSM certainly is the dog. We also have Tiny Demolition Lover, great to see you. Hope you're well tonight. Who else have we got? Conservator, hope you're well. Great to see you. We have Kathy Doyle. Great to have you on. Let's see. We have also Ed. Ed Stacey. Great to have you on, Ed. Hope you're fine. We have, let me see, Dano. Great to see you, Dano. Then we have Giorgio. Great to see you, Giorgio. Tom. Great to have you on. Catherine. Great to see you. Simon says 55. Great to see you, Simon. Reagan Elite, great to have you on, Reagan. We see also John O'Sullivan, great to see you, John. Let me see, we also have John Mulhall, great to see you, John. Jean T, great to see you. Sud Heap, great to have you on, hope you're well. Ministerian, great to have you on, hope you're well tonight. We also have Matt, great to see you, Matt, hope you're fine. Facts Not Fiction, great to see you. Guys, do check out Facts Not Fiction YouTube channel. Great content there. Make sure to give them a like and subscribe. We also have Michael. Great to see you, Michael. The moderators are going to post links to the other YouTube channels that are friends of mine and associated with Brexit as well. So do check them out. The moderators will post links in the chat. We have CGM, great to see you, CGM. Who else have we got? I hope I'm not missing anyone. Well, we're up to 220 viewers. I'll have to jump down to the bottom. We have Kendra, Reagan Elite, Ben, great to see you, Malcolm, great to have you on. Angela, great to see you, and so many others. I have to go down to the very bottom because there's so many people on tonight. Apologies I don't say hello to everyone. I try my best, but we have over 200 people viewing. Smash the like button, guys. Remember, you can hit me with a super chat if you'd like me to read out a comment on the stream tonight. And you can also support the channel by becoming a Patreon, and you get instant access to Discord, and there's lots of fun happening. A very interesting debate taking place on Discord this Thursday. So if you're on Discord, do check it out. You'll find information there. Night Raven, great to see you, Night Raven. Hope you're fine. Eileen O'Halloran. Good to see you. Herbie, great to see you. And Duke, great to have you on. Okay, so want to first of all say thanks to everyone who subscribed to the channel. We got to 70,000 subscribers. That's amazing. It seems just a few months ago. It was just a few months ago. It was at 50,000. I never thought the channel would get to 50,000. I really never thought the channel would get to 70,000. And I'm hoping, really, truly hoping that it could get to 100,000 by the end of the year. I don't know if that's possible. We'll have to see how things go, depending on what happens. I'm going to try and get to that. That'd be great. But thank you so much to everyone for your support, for viewing the videos, for sharing them on social media. I see a lot of the videos are being shared on Facebook and on Twitter as well, and other social media platforms. That's great help for the channel. And a lot of people commenting on the videos is a great way to help as well, because it shows that the videos are active and that they're popular. So do comment, even just to say hello. Thanks a lot, guys. Mandy Brown, great to have you on. Great to see you. And as I say, commenting on the channel, Mandy is always commenting. Thank you so much, Mandy. Always have something positive to say. Phil, watch out. Phil is doing a great job. Phil is over 105,000, I think, or 102,000 the last time I checked. So Phil is doing a wonderful job, and he provides different content. We're talking about the same issues, but we all have our different angles, our different approaches, and Phil has a very sound and informative way of presenting his content. Mine is a little bit different. You'll also find other YouTubers like All Shorts and others like Graham Hughes as well, who provide a different angle, but generally we're always talking about the same thing. So And you saw my my evil twin today commenting. I pressed down like dislike on it, but it didn't make any difference. This guy is always taking over and from time to time pumping out pro-Brexit content and criticizing me, of course. But what can I do about it? He gets out of the attic from time to time. So, guys, let's start off. So, of course, we're going to talk about Brexit tonight, talk about the pandemic, talk about a number of different issues. But I want to start off with this article from The Express. And, of course, I'll try and read out as many of your comments as well. Remember, guys, to smash the like button. We're over 287 viewers, so I want to see the same number of likes. That'd be great. So this is from The Express, pro-Tory, pro-Brexit. It's just another example of how they'll write something in the headline and then the article itself will contradict the headline. So it says, this is not a proper contradiction, but when you read the article itself, I'm not going to read the entire article, but when you read the article, it contradicts what the main goal of the article is. So it says here, Brexit Britain sees economic boom with fastest growth in 80 years as EU left lagging. So it says here, and look, this is in the article itself. So I don't know who writes these articles. I think they're just trolling the public. But let's see what it says. So after the pandemic led to a catastrophic plunge in GDP in 2020, the UK is set to be one of the fastest growing economies in the West, to once again be firing on all cylinders. There's a mistake here, of course. In 2020, Britain saw its economic output drop by 9.8%. Okay, 9.8%. A huge downfall was the worst performance of any action in the G7. Critics of Boris Johnson blamed his government's response to the pandemic for the country suffering its worst economic performance since the 1709 Great Frost. However, it is thanks to ministers' response to the COVID crisis the UK is now set to recover so quickly. The success of the vaccine rollout and easing of lockdown restrictions mean forecasters, the EY Item Club, now expect GDP to grow by 7.6% in 2021. But if it fell by 9.8% and it's recovered by 7.6%, then it's still down by 2.2%. That's not a recovery. That's not a real recovery. Yes, it's like if I went to what's the name of that trench? The Marinara Trench, I think it's called, at the bottom of the ocean. If I go down there and I start to return, well, of course I'm going to make a massive recovery because I'm at the very deepest point. This is pretty much the same. The economy suffered an economic crash to the level of 1709. So any type of recovery would be regarded as a record. But it's still 2.2% down. But for Brexiteers, this is a victory. Arman, thank you so much for that super chat. Congratulations already to 70,000 subs. But I'm happy to do it again. Oh, thank you so much for that. Very kind of you. Wow, very kind. Thanks so much for that. I'm really happy to get to 70,000. The next milestone maybe is 90,000 or 85,000. I don't know, but it's just showing that you guys appreciate the content. I try to make it as good as possible, but it seems to be something that's appreciated, and that's great. So it's wonderful to see the channel getting to 70,000. And thanks so much for your support every time on every stream, Erman. You're a great support. Regan Ali, thank you so much for that. Sir Ron tweeted, Robespierre and his UBI tricks won't wash with me. Damn UBI tricks, yes. I don't know if Sir Ron is a fan of UBI. Probably not. I think he believes in giving money to the rich, not to everyone else. Thanks so much for that, Reagan Elite. Very kind of you. Nico, thank you so much for that. I second that. Very kind of you too, Nico. Very much appreciated. Really do. Thanks so much for that support. Wow, so many comments about 70,000. Once again, I had no idea it was going to get to 70,000. So thanks for all of your support. Simon says 7.6%. That would be a lot of rental dinghies at the French coast. Yes, the stories of people who are from the UK leaving during the lockdown to get to France by dinghy, actually crossing the channel by dinghy. Anyway, let's move on. I want to show you this report from Channel 4 News. Boris Johnson, the irony of this report, I just show it to you now. Boris Johnson talking about getting tough on crime. It seems almost as if Boris Johnson just wants to copy his, I don't know, illegitimate father, I don't know, in the United States, Donald Trump. He just wants to copy Trumpism. Tough on crime, tough on immigrants, tough on the European Union, tough on everything. And this plays in well to the narrative of, you know, we have to deal with crime. Crime is a big issue at the moment. Immigration is a big issue. We're the ones that are in charge. We're the ones who are able to deal with both immigration and crime. Labour are not capable. Mike, thank you so much for that super chat. Boris in isolation for a week and cases drop by. Is that a coincidence? It's eerily connected. There's an eerie connection there, isn't there? Thanks so much, Mike. Very good. What has Boris Johnson been doing? Now that he's out, perhaps the cases will start to rise again. Conservator, thank you so much for that. 99 cents less frugal than Nico. Very good. Thanks so much, Conservator. Very kind of you. Wow, you guys are amazing tonight. Matt, thank you so much for that super chat. He only made a video earlier today, but I swear I just saw Sir Ron Venti in Hastings drinking Carling, shouting at the sea. Congratulations on 70k, Max. Thanks so much for that. Sir Ron Venti, probably, yes, out somewhere shouting at boats. Probably weren't shouting at the right boats, especially after a few Carlings. He probably was shouting at clouds even. So he doesn't hold his drink very well. Unlike myself. He was it's something genetic, I think. Okay, let's see this report.
I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be out there in one of those fluorescent jacketed chain gangs, visibly paying your debt to society.
Out of isolation and back in his comfort zone, the Prime Minister using typically provocative language to talk tough on crime today.
If you were a miscreant, you wouldn't want to
mess with them,
biting the seat of your pants.
Kicking off a week of the Tories on the attack. New announcements designed to re-establish them as the party of law and order. Top of the list, giving police more stop and search powers, despite concerns around racial profiling. The Prime Minister says it's tough love.
Giving the police the backing that they need in law to stop someone, to search them, to relieve them of a dangerous weapon. I don't think that's a strong-arm tactics. I think that's a kind and a loving thing to do.
This is part of a raft of new measures in England and Wales that will also expand the use of electronic tags, including trials for new...
Okay, but who's going to put tags on Boris Johnson? Boris Johnson is, he says we need to put these people into chain gangs, put them, put fluorescent jackets on them and have them out on the streets. Is lying in Parliament a crime? Probably not. Is writing racist comments, racist articles for newspapers a crime? Probably not. So maybe we're not going to see Boris Johnson out digging ditches. The ditches that he said he would prefer to be found dead in than actually stop Brexit or not get Brexit done. I don't remember the term he used. Frank, thank you so much for that super chat. Why has... Oh, so it's scrolling up. Why has Boris chosen to announce that he wants to renegotiate? No real pressure from DUP, red meat for the base. Yeah, I think it's it's an attempt to... I think it's actually an attempt to kick the can down the road. He feels that he has to use threats to get what he wants. And, you know, if I make a threat that isn't really a threat, if I speak to the EU and say, look, can we extend these grace periods because we have a lot of problems? Look, we will align, but I just need your permission to extend these grace periods because we're not ready. We're not up to speed. Give us some more time and we'll put it in place. But then to the public say, yes, we are demanding from the EU that they extend the grace periods. Because for the EU, it doesn't make a slight bit of difference if Brexiteers think that they're winning, but behind closed doors, Boris Johnson is going on his hands and knees. So I think this is, as you say, red meat to the base. Yes, it's about showing we're tough. We forced the EU to extend these grace periods. We forced the EU to suspend, at least to freeze the legal procedures, the legal process that's taking place at the moment because the UK breached the Northern Ireland Protocol. So I think it's a case of we're just going to ask for them to extend it, and we'll provide the narrative to the public that we forced the EU to allow us this. Because, as I said before, for the EU it doesn't make any difference. They care about what they can get out of this. So if they get the UK to align, in a sense, on certain standards, then that's fine. They're concerned about maintaining peace in Northern Ireland. If Boris Johnson can say to the unionist community, look, I have won some concessions, now go back to your homes and be quiet, the EU is happy. The EU is willing to be seen as failing or as losing out if it means supporting peace in Northern Ireland. We have another super chat. Thanks for that super chat, Frank. We have a super chat from Alexis. Thank you so much for that. Congratulations, Max. Next goal, 1 million. That's a long time away, I think. It would be amazing to get to 1 million. Yes, I'd be a celebrity at that stage. Although some people had asked me when I hit 50, I did an Ask Me Anything. And I probably will do one maybe sometime soon. Because a lot of new people have come on and they don't know much about me. They know about the channel, but they don't know much about me. So I promise to do an Ask Me Anything sometime soon. So you can ask me questions about myself, and I'll be as honest as possible. So 1 million, perhaps a few years down the road. It depends. Depends on how things pan out. Derek, thanks so much for that super chat. Thanks again, Alexis. Derek, thanks so much. Today I celebrate another trip around the sun. So sharing the joy. Congratulations on 70k. Raise a glass of Colia. Waits for pronunciation. Did I say it correctly? Thank you so much for that, Derek. Very kind of you. I'm sorry if I bastardized the pronunciation. And happy birthday to Derek. Another trip around the sun. Congratulations. I won't ask your age. Thanks so much for that. Very kind of you. We have another one from David. Thank you so much, David. Just dropping by from Galiev with a quick hello. Congratulations on reaching 70,000 subscribers and keep killing it. Sláinte. Thank you so much for that, David. Appreciated a great deal. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Wow, so many kind comments tonight.
Tags that monitor alcohol levels and see more offenders made to clean up streets and public spaces. But it's the changes to stop and search that have caused the most controversy, a reversal of the approach taken by his predecessor, who imposed strict limits to end the targeting of young black men.
I want the message to go out from this hall that nobody should ever be stopped just on the basis of the colour of their skin.
The The change was met with scepticism by many charities and campaign groups, including Switchback, which helps ex-offenders rebuild their lives.
A lot of them were stopped and searched consistently from the time they were 11, 12, sometimes younger.
On a regular basis?
On a regular basis, before they were offending. And the impact that has can be massively detrimental. You feel there's a massive mistrust between them and like police and other figures in authority. They feel profiled. They feel that people don't believe in them. There's a sense of hopelessness, I think, that these regular stops and searches create.
Let's just say I fell into the wrong path.
Brian was supported by Switchback when he left prison following a conviction for drug offences. He believes that many of the government's policies won't work in preventing reoffending, saying it was one-to-one mentoring that stopped him falling back into crime.
They call you, they give you different opportunities, they put you into training. So I feel like if everyone had...
And this makes sense. Like, if you give people some sort of hope, then they're less likely to fall into crime. If people have no hope, then they'll say, well, what's the point? I might as well get involved in crime. At least I get something out of it. So people are hopeless. That's why they're resorting to crime to a certain extent. Many times, of course, it's because they don't actually have the resources to survive on. So they resort to crime. But in many cases, there are no opportunities. The prospects are pretty grim, and it makes sense to them to say, look, I could not in this sense take the easy way out, but I can find my own way without support. And then that's how people fall into gangs and things like that. Gareth, thank you so much for that super chat. The fascist EU making the UK stick to the terms of the legally binding contract that they signed merely 6 months ago. Jesus, wept, man. I've never been so sad to be British. It is really terrible. We're in a new world, I believe. I couldn't see someone, even like Theresa May, and I'm no fan of Theresa May, but I couldn't see someone like Theresa May or George Osborne, David Cameron, or Gordon Brown, or Tony Blair, or others like that, going back on an international agreement. I couldn't see them. Boris Johnson has set the bar really frigging low, and it's only up from here. I hope. I can't see it getting any worse than this. Like I used to say the same thing about Donald Trump. If Donald Trump had won the election, if COVID hadn't arrived and Donald Trump had won the election, I think we would be in a very dark place today. So there is a way. It seems to be there is light at the end of the tunnel. And Boris Johnson isn't doing very well in the polls at the moment, which could be something to hope for. Although polls change from day to day, so I wouldn't put too much trust in them. Peter, thank you so much for that super chat. Very kind of you. Thorin, thank you so much for that. It's treating people like during colonization. Yes. Yes, because we treat them as having committed a crime before they've actually, before they've reached the age where they can actually walk the streets on their own.
That same type of support would make a dramatic change.
Is the difference that they care about you and what happens to you?
100%. If you've got an authentic relationship with someone that you're working with that's trying to better you, you're only going to do better.
More response.
I think this is not exactly the same thing, but I remember there was a case where they were dealing with drug addiction. And I don't know if it was in Finland or maybe it was in Denmark. But there was one country where they decided, we're actually going to give people, it could have been Sweden either, we're going to actually give people all the drugs that they want. So we're not going to limit, we're not going to replace heroin with methadone. We're actually going to give people heroin. They want heroin, we're going to give them heroin. And what happened was they discovered that people actually weaned themselves off it because they were in desperate need of community, desperate need of company. And when they were with others who had drug problems, they started to speak to each other, they started to do activities together, and the drug, later on, they discovered that the drug was a compensation for something missing in their life. They were missing company, they were missing human contact. And when they had that, they gave up their addiction. And I think this is something that we should learn from. And also when it comes to crime, we need to provide people with some hope in their life, some goal. Because if you have a goal, then you're going to focus on that, and you're not going to let other things distract you from that goal. But if you have no goals, if you have no objectives, then you'll let others influence you in a negative way, I think. Peter, thank you so much for that super chat. And Tom as well, thank you so much.
Responsibilities will also fall on the police, with forces expected to have contactable named officers in every neighbourhood. But a backlash that's been brewing over pay and treatment boiled over, with Police Federation chiefs taking the fight to Downing Street at a letter to the Prime Minister.
We've given everything to society and to this government for the last 18 months in terms of adhering to every piece of legislation they've brought out, taking dead bodies out of houses during COVID, driving ambulances, everything they've asked for. And in return for that, we get, yet again, 0%. We get no vaccination from our colleagues, and we've had enough of where we are.
Can he cut crime and cut public spending? That's the challenge for Boris Johnson. And with more announcements lined up this week, he's determined to prove he's up to it.
How can you say we're going to cut public spending when you've handed over £37 billion to Dido Harding? Is that the reason why you have to cut spending? I'm sorry, we pumped all this money into a black hole and now we have to cut costs. So I said this before, we're going to see austerity 2.0. Boris Johnson, once again, just like any other Tory, there's no money, we need to cut services. We're not going to cut our own salaries, for example. Their salaries are going up as far as I know. We're not going to cut, for example, was it Trident or things like this? There's so many very expensive projects that could be cut, but we're not going to cut those. We could increase taxation on the millionaire and billionaire class, but we're not going to do that because that would piss them off and they'd stop donating to the party. So we're going to instead increase taxation on people who can't afford it from the start, and we're going to cut services. But the Tories really like cutting services. They don't like increasing taxation because it's unpopular. But if you cut services here and there, you can offload the blame onto the council, or blame it on the other party. Look at what Labour has done over 10 years ago, and just blame the Labour Party for any of the ills that you say, look, they overspent, now we have to cut. And it works, unfortunately, with the public. So it says here, police chiefs condemn Boris Johnson's plan as weird and gimmicky. So police chiefs last night condemned Boris Johnson's high-profile strategy to tackle crime as weird and gimmicky, while plans to increase stop and search were criticised for ignoring the evidence. The crime initiative was supposed to show Boris Johnson's government gripping the agenda. But senior police officers, the rank and file, opposition politicians, and even some in business rebuked it. The criticism of Johnson's plan comes is the latest of a series of setbacks for the Prime Minister's domestic relaunch, after the landmark levelling up speech was mocked for being light on detail, and his plan to overhaul social care delayed by Treasury wrangling and a Conservative backlash over tax rises. Because whatever Boris Johnson wants to do, he needs money to do it. And in order to do that, he needs to either cut services or increase taxation. But if you keep cutting services, people will start to notice. And the Labour Party will use it as ammunition against you. But then he can't increase taxes because then his own backbenchers who are completely against any tax rises will undermine him. So he's caught between a rock and a hard place. Matt, thank you so much for that super chat. They destroy young youth provision. They cut police. They target the disenfranchised. They fail to tax the rich. Then they're surprised at crime figures. We've seen how the Tories have cut police figures by 22,000 since 2010. And then they're planning to rehire 20,000 police officers. So there'll still be 2,000 police officers short if they were able to hire them all back. But why did they cut them in the first place? That's the problem. It was part of this austerity push. Thanks so much for that super chat, Matt. Yeah, and it's about creating the problem, then pretending that you are providing the solution. The Shadow Justice Secretary, David Lammy, said the plan was tinkering and would do nothing to rebuild the broken system. It's just a rehash of policies that won't work won't make our streets safer or prevent offending, he said. Delays in the courts are at a record high, while convictions for the most serious crimes, including rape, are at a record low. The government's tinkering proposals do little to reverse the effects of the closure of 295 courts in England and Wales, or to deal with the massive cuts in drug treatment services, the police, CPS, and the whole justice system his government has made since 2010. The proposals, among the proposals in the strategy are permanent relaxation conditions on the use of Section 60 stop and search powers for police to tackle knife crime, expanding the use of electronic monitoring for thieves upon release from prison, trialling the use of drug tags which detect alcohol in the sweat of offenders guilty of drunk-fueled crime on prison levers in Wales, making unpaid work more visible by getting offenders to clean streets and open spaces. This is red meat to the base. This is so people, the voters, can see that something is happening. This is not about rehabilitation or about fighting crime. This is just about, look at how we're punishing people. And that's what the Tory voters want. Offenders doing community service will wear high vis as they clear canals and clean graffiti. The intention is to make the price of the crime visible, the Home Office source said. Some police officers privately mocked parts of the government plan, which The Guardian understands were launched without consulting leaders in law enforcement or frontline officers. Once again, this is a case of, we're going to roll out a policy, but we're not actually going to consult the experts, the people who know what they're talking about. This is another perfect example of the Brexit mentality. We're not going to listen to experts, we're going to do it our way. And then what'll happen is it's not going to work and they'll have to backpedal, or they'll just double down and just dump more money into it, or just cut more services in order to compensate for the loss of money, and make the situation worse, instead of actually listening to the experts and saying, okay, what do you want us to do? What should we do? How do we deal with these issues? No, we have to be the ones who make the decisions. We're not going to consult with anyone. And it's going to be another failure that's going to create long-term problems, not short-term problems that can be fixed with the next government. These are problems that are going to remain for perhaps even a generation, like Brexit. So let's move on to Brexit. Let me open this link. So it says here, Vicky, thank you so much for that super chat, Vicky. If you want to improve crime stuff, they need to start reversing court cuts. 2 years for a case to get a court minimum. Lots of places closed, and the rate of pay for public defenders is insulting. it's really, thank you so much, Vicky, for that super chat. It's really a case that they just don't care. The backlog means that people are becoming disenfranchised, in a sense, disinterested in, or their support, their belief in the justice system is being eroded because of massive delays. And then public officials who work for the courts, if they're not paid correctly, then they're going to leave that sector, and then it's going to put extra strain on the remaining staff, or you're going to see longer delays. But this is a party who don't think for the long term. It's all about slogans. It's all about quick fixes. It's all about convincing the public that they're doing the right thing, even though they're doing the wrong thing. We've seen it with Brexit. Thanks so much for that super chat, Vicky. Oh, Vicky, you sent me another one. Thank you so much for that. Wow, very kind of you once again. Also, congratulations on 70k, and we can get Johnson and his cabinet out as part of the public humiliation, please. Yes. This public humiliation, yes, get him out. It'd be great to have Boris Johnson and all the other Tories cleaning canals and removing graffiti from walls. Jacob Rees-Mogg removing graffiti from the walls. That would be something I would pay to see. It'd be great to watch, wouldn't it? Thanks so much once again for that super chat, Vicky. Very kind of you. Have a great evening. So it says here, UK rejects EU's Northern Ireland moves, saying Brexit deal must be renegotiated. So before I came on the stream, there's been a lot going on surrounding this issue. The European Union have recently come out and said that they are going to freeze the legal proceedings against the UK. We'll see how that pans out. It could be an attempt to appear like, look, we're just going to let the UK do what they please for the moment. It's not going to cost us anything if we suspend it at the moment for a few months. I think what's happening is a lot of negotiations, for a better choice of words, are taking place behind the scenes, and I have a feeling that the EU is saying to the UK, okay, you agree to this, and this, okay, then we will allow you to extend the grace periods for another bit, but you must do X, and the UK will agree to do X behind the scenes. But to the public, it looks as if Boris Johnson is standing up to the EU. He's facing them down. He holds all the cards, in a sense, and that's what the public want to hear. That's what the Brexiteers want to hear, and they will be cheering him on, because the EU know that if Boris Johnson is happy, he'll do what they want. But Boris Johnson is happy when the public think he's winning. So the EU is happy to say, okay, Boris Johnson is winning. But I don't think that's really the case. Now, the only thing that would go against that is Northern Ireland, of course, because the EU is concerned about Northern Ireland. It doesn't want things to spill over. They don't want problems in Northern Ireland. They understand the situation in Northern Ireland due to what the Irish government has been telling them. I think whatever steps the EU want to take, they always have to look over their shoulder at the Republic of Ireland, at Ireland, and understand, can we do this? Can we do that? Is this acceptable to you guys? Is it not? I think there's always this consultation taking place. And that's perhaps a bit of a break that it's something that the EU are always concerned with. And I think they would prefer to be a bit more aggressive with the UK, but they want to avoid that because of the situation in Northern Ireland. FSM is the dog. Thank you so much for that super chat. Cabinet should all be in high vis for the 150,000 dead. Yes. They should be forced to wear t-shirts or jackets or something with 150. I killed 150,000. Or the 150,000 are on me. Or the 150,000 are on us. Because they're the ones who made the decisions. Matt Hancock, he was responsible for this as well. Where has he gone? Back to the backbenches. Punished not for the dead, punished for smooching in front of a camera. That's what he was punished for. Not for forcing old people into care homes even though they had COVID. Making sure that he protected himself when it came to a lack of PPE. Not actually protecting the NHS staff, protecting himself and his department and his staff, not the NHS staff. Those people are responsible. Thanks so much for that super chat. FSM is the dog. We also have Crimble. Thank you so much for that. Yum. Very nice. Yum. Crimble. I love Crumble. Sorry. Apple crumble. I love apple crumble. So it goes on to say Boris Johnson has rejected Brussels' latest attempt to iron out problems with the post-Brexit arrangements for Northern Ireland, insisting that the withdrawal agreement signed last year must be renegotiated. Yeah, we're back to this again. Once again, Boris Johnson negotiated it with David Frost, signed it, sold it to the public as an oven-ready deal, and now it's burnt or mouldy, I don't know which. A series of proposals published by the European Commission on Monday with the aim of easing implementation of the Northern Ireland Protocol were said to be insufficient for the scale of the problems. So the EU has said, okay, we're going to make some changes. We're going to make it easier for example, guide dogs or medicines to come in from Great Britain into Northern Ireland. There are certain measures we want to put in place, but of course within the framework of the protocol. And Boris Johnson's response is, no, we want to renegotiate. Now, I would actually ask him, I would call his bluff, and I would say, okay, renegotiate it to what? What do you want to renegotiate? What is your goal? Because it's all good and fine saying, we don't like this. Then what are you going to, what is your negotiating position? What do you actually want to achieve? And I think it's a bit like the unionists, not the unionists, but the DUP in Northern Ireland, where we don't like the protocol. Okay, what do you want to replace it with? We don't like the protocol. That's their response. Yeah, but what? Okay, if we take away the protocol, what are you going to replace it with? We don't like the protocol. Take it away. It's a bit like Indiana Jones when he puts that bag of sand on the button that is holding up that golden idol, and if he's like, he has to put something there to replace it, but the DUP would be, just take the idol. Yeah, but it's going to trigger the booby trap. It doesn't matter, just take the idol. Although maybe not a good example. Gareth, thank you so much for that super chat. Message from my mother. Which Tory donor has been tasked with rolling out his high-vis Mickey Mouse job? Effing Tories. Man, had enough of experts. Yes. Isn't it wonderful how Boris Johnson always has these jackets with Prime Minister? Once again, this is a copy of Donald Trump. Wasn't it Trump or George W. Bush had the flight suit with his name on it. Trump had a jacket with his name on it. President of the US, when he was visiting some manufacturing plant. And Boris Johnson, the same, Prime Minister or Home Secretary for Priti Patel. Thanks so much for that super chat, Gareth. So it goes on a series of the government, UK government spokesperson said that the two sides instead needed comprehensive and durable solutions. David Frost, the minister responsible for Brexit issues, has said that without major change to the legal text of the protocol, the government would consider triggering Article 16 of the EU-UK agreement to suspend parts of the deal. It doesn't suspend... Okay, triggering Article 16 requires you... Okay, if you trigger Article 16, then there is a month that takes place where the joint committee have to be convened and they look at the triggering of Article 16 in this area. The area that's problematic. Where is the area that's problematic? Which part of the protocol do you want to trigger? Because the problem is that the public think that Article 16 suspends the protocol, and it doesn't. It's the opposite. It suspends part of the protocol. It has very limited scope, and it's for a very limited amount of time. It doesn't suspend the entire protocol, but it's been sold to the public by Brexiteers, I have to add, that it's some sort of nuclear option. Barry, thank you so much for that super chat. Congratulations, 70k. If UK economy is 100 and drops 10 to 90, it needs to go down. It needs to go up 11 to get to 100. So closer to 3.2% over the last 2 years. Very good point. Yes, my mathematics is terrible. Yes, so in the original article, at the very beginning of the stream, I said that, was it 6.8%? 'It was 9 point something percent, 9.8%. The economy had dropped. Then it had recovered 6.6%. I don't remember, but it was, it wasn't 2%. It was actually more than that, because it was 6% off the drop, of the difference between what it was before and what it was after. Of the new figure. Yes. Not of 100%. So yes, even Brexiteers are Daily Express fans, and I need to go back to school and study mathematics once again. It goes on to say such a move would be permitted where it can be shown that serious economic, societal or environmental difficulties are arising, but the Commission would probably challenge such a decision. As I said, it has to go to the Joint Committee, and the Joint Committee have to decide whether this is a legitimate use of Article 16. It's not just, we invoke it and then it runs its course. No. The Joint Committee have to get involved. It would likely go to arbitration, raising the risk of a trade sanction down the line. The government issued a command paper last week detailing the key changes it wishes to make to the arrangements under which Northern Ireland in effect stays in the EU single market, and the bloc's customs rules are enforced on goods passing across the Irish Sea. The UK government spokesperson said it would only by engaging with downstream's demands that the issues related to the range of problems which have caused political instability and violence in Northern Ireland in recent months could be solved. Isn't it interesting that we haven't really seen any real noise from Northern Ireland recently? Yes, the unionists like the DUP are complaining, but we haven't seen the type of trouble that we saw back in Easter. However, he said that the EU proposals represented only a small subset of the many difficulties caused by the way the protocol is operating. We need comprehensive and durable solutions if we want to avoid further disruption to the everyday lives of people of those in Northern Ireland. The UK's outright rejection on Monday of the Commission's overtures on some of the difficult issues, including the flow of medicines from Great Britain to Northern Ireland and the move of guide dogs and cattle, further sets the two sides on a collision course. Now, in regards to medicines, one of the problems, and this is quite complicated, what the protocol envisioned was that there would be an agency, in a sense, or regulations would be carried out, regulatory work would be carried out in Northern Ireland, not in Great Britain. The problem with that is that it puts a huge amount of expense and strain on the type of companies that would be carrying out that work in Northern Ireland. So a solution was found to continue to do the work in Great Britain, but the UK government rejected that. Said no, it would be too expensive. But then what's your alternative? They haven't provided an alternative. Robert, thank you so much for that super chat. Hi Max, congratulations on the 70k subscribers. I think you might have mentioned this before, but do you ever get any response from any unionists to join the chat to discuss, debate the protocol, etc.? I have a very nice man who's a unionist on Discord, but he is a Remainer, so it's not. But I have spoken to him about the unionist position in Northern Ireland, more in regards to a United Ireland and the view of the DUP and marching season as well. So we talked about a number of different issues there. Stream has frozen? No, please tell me no. Is everything okay? No, should be okay. I have tried to reach out to loyalists. It's almost automatic to add paramilitary after it, to loyalists, but I haven't been lucky enough. There is one on Twitter who's quite vocal. I've tried to reach out to him, but he doesn't respond to me. The stream is fine. Okay. It's difficult to get people on because the best place for me to debate things would be on Discord, and a lot of people don't want to do it that way. So I've provided alternatives, but I haven't heard back from anyone. So look, for me, I think I understand that, because some people think I'm going to debate them or something like that. I just like to have a conversation. I like to have conversations with people. Maybe I come across as aggressive in the videos or on the stream, but I'm not aggressive at all. I would like to have a conversation with people, and I've had conversations with people in the past, not online but in person, and we've had very productive, friendly conversations. I spoke to a unionist some years ago on the plane from Belfast to Venice, and we had a conversation going, and he was a unionist, and he told me about what it means to be a unionist in Northern Ireland at the moment. And I think he voted to remain once again. So he wasn't a Brexiteer. So of course he had a different view of Brexit, and he had a different view of a United Ireland, for example. But he was open to the idea of a United Ireland. He said, look, I'm a unionist. I prefer for Northern Ireland to remain part of the Union. But he sort of understood that it wasn't going to stay like that forever, even if he wanted it to stay like that. But he understood that he can't stand in its way. And he was very open to the idea. He said at the end of the day, look, I don't care if we're part of the United Kingdom or if part of a United Ireland, as long as my kids, have a safe future, they're able to buy a house, they're able to get a job. These are the issues that are more important to me than any politics. And I think that speaks volumes to many people in Northern Ireland. We tend to view Northern Ireland as strictly political, and of course that's not always the case. Is that young Jamie? No, not Jamie. No, I don't think Jamie would come on. I think you're talking about the guy with the squeaky voice. Stuart, thank you so much for that super chat. How's it going? It's going fantastic. Very well indeed. Very kind of you for that super chat. Thanks to Robert as well. Okay. Well, we're over 1 hour on the stream, so I want to just finish up on this. So Lord Frost has insisted that he is sincere in wanting the protocol to be successful, but he cannot envisage a situation that will gain the support of all communities in Northern Ireland without a new negotiation on the text. The command paper issued last week had suggested that political pressures in 2019 forced the government to accept to the protocol, to agree to the protocol and sign it in 2021. Political pressures. Boris Johnson the political pressure was from the ERG. It wasn't necessary for Boris Johnson to agree to have the UK split in two, in a sense, have Great Britain outside the single market and the customs union, and Northern Ireland part of the single market. That wasn't an obligation. That wasn't something Parliament were forcing him to do. The ERG wanted it. The European Research Group, the lunatic fringe within the Conservative Party when it came to Brexit. Those people wanted a no-deal Brexit. Those people wanted to leave the European Union without a withdrawal agreement. To hell with Northern Ireland for them. When it came to Northern Ireland or Brexit, they strictly voted continually for Brexit. They even sat next to the DUP. They were friends with the DUP, and the DUP didn't understand that they were being thrown under a bus by the ERG. And I was tearing my hair out, whatever little bit I have left at the time, saying, why are the DUP aligning themselves with the ERG? The ERG don't give a crap about them. Jacob Rees-Mogg went to Northern Ireland, visited the border and said, yeah, we can put up drones here, or we can have an electronic border. Taking the piss. Truly taking the piss. How could he go and meet these people and then say, yeah, we're going to put up an electronic border? How would that work, Jacob? We can use something that they have over in Finland or in Norway. Yes, we can use that. And he's like, okay, can you show us the example that's being used over there? No, but just use your imagination. Believe in it. If you believe in it, it can succeed. This is the guy who was promoting the idea of happy fish because they're British fish. Standing up in Parliament and saying the fish are now happy because they're British. We continue to take these people seriously. They have no understanding of Jacob Rees-Mogg. They have no understanding of the consequences of their actions. They're completely indifferent to the consequences because they're not suffering the consequences. Somebody else is. Okay, let's have a little comedy moment and we'll move on to the serious. We'll get back to the serious stuff in a moment. So I just want to show you this funny video and then we'll move on. If it's working, yes.
Right, let's get this over with. The Mona Lisa.
Leonardo da Vinci reads his hate mail.
Right, let's get this over with. The Mona Lisa needs to smile more. Yeah. You should just give up now. You will never be as good as Michelangelo. I mean, we're not trying to do the same thing. We're not trying to do the same thing. There's room for more than one white genius artist in Renaissance Italy. You are also not as good looking as him. I would shag him, but not you. Is there an envelope for this one? Return address. Michelangelo. Fucking prick. You are shit at painting. Painting spelt wrong. Stick to maths. Can't believe you get patronised for this shit. Shit spelt wrong. Stop painting so much gay stuff. I don't want to see dicks and stuff on my walls and ceiling. I didn't do that one. God, that is... Oh! It's not even me. It's not even... Mona Lisa needs to smile more. It's an enigmatic smirk. I don't know. I feel like that's pretty obvious. Your painting of the Last Supper is offensive religiously, but also just weird. Why are they all sitting around the same side of the table? That's just inconvenient. It would never happen in real life. You made a really good effort with the Vitruvian Man, but there is no way anyone has that many arms and legs. Also, it's a bit gay to have his dick out. Guilty as charged. When are you going to finish my fresco? It's been 5 fucking months. I've already paid you. Oh shit, no, that's patron. Why is the Mona Lisa's smile so weird? No offence, it looks good, but why is it so weird? I think it just looks like she knows something weird. A lot of run-on sentences in that one. Oh my god, it's a bag of shit. It's a bag of shit! It's from Michelangelo. I don't think he knows how postmarks work. The Mona Lisa is too smiley. She looks like a bit of a slag. Could you paint her looking more serious?
Okay. I imagine that's exactly what it was like. So let's move on to the serious stuff, or back to the serious stuff. Lorry drivers offered sign-on bonuses worth thousands of pounds during shortage. So we know at the moment there's a heavy goods vehicle driver shortage because of Brexit, basically. But we tend to hear that it's more about the pingdemic or the pandemic as well. No, it's down to Brexit. But let's see what the government have decided. So the government have been told, look, what you need to do to fix this is to add heavy goods vehicle drivers to the occupational shortage list, which means that these drivers would be... It would be easier for haulage companies, logistics companies, to hire people from abroad, for example, the European Union, to work in the industry, because a lot of them have left because of the toxic environment, one way, and because of Brexit, and because of the new rules brought in, the new immigration rules that the Brexiteers wanted. the government are desperate to do something about it, but do the right thing. It's like, it's like, you know, the square block goes into the square hole. They're like trying to put it in the round hole. They're trying to put it in the triangular hole, but they won't put it in the square hole. Lorry drivers offered sign-on bonuses worth thousands of pounds during shortage. So companies are deciding, okay, we have to find a solution here because the government don't give a crap. The Road Haulage Association estimates that there's a national shortage of 100,000 drivers, which together with the pandemic is being blamed for empty shelves and disruption to the economy. The reason the government are happy to blame the pandemic, but the problem with that is in countries around Europe, there aren't shortages. So if there's a shortage of drivers because drivers can't drive because of the pandemic, then wouldn't you see that problem all over Europe? But you don't. And drive longer hours too, says Gad. Yes. They want to, some of the rules they want to, let's let them drive longer. Let them skip parts of the test so they can drive both articulated lorries and fixed lorries. That's going to be safe. I uploaded a video recently where they wanted to bring in types of lorries that are like road trains. So it's a lorry with a trailer attached to it, but it's not like a regular one we have here in Europe. It's a different type of truck. And you need training how to drive those because they're much longer. They're 30 meters long or something like that. Lorry drivers have been offered thousands of pounds to sign on to work for major retailers amid a widespread shortage, but it could leave small haulage operators struggling. Tesco, Britain's biggest supermarket chain, has offered to pay £1,000 to heavy goods vehicle drivers joining before the 30th of September, an offer first reported by the BBC. Sky News understands that that other retailers are also offering similar or higher bonuses. But this is thought to be causing problems for smaller operators that make up the majority of the haulage industry, as their workers are lured away by incentives they couldn't afford to put on the table. Oh my God. So the big companies are desperate for drivers. So they're willing to take a hit, a financial hit. This is exactly like what I was saying before when I was talking about Brexit, in the sense that some companies, remember the government said to the export industry, look, we can't help you. What you need to do is you need to set up an office in the European Union. Do you remember that story? You remember when the government were saying, was it DEFRA were telling, it was the Department of International Trade, Liz Truss's office, were telling businesses there's a loophole around Brexit. What you need to do is you need to set up an office in the European Union. And they're like, what? But I thought Brexit was going to help us. No, Brexit's not going to help you. Brexit is a hindrance. It's not a help. So the way around this problem is to set up an office in the Netherlands or in France or in Ireland. And of course, a small business would reply and say, I don't have the money to do that. The government department would reply with, your problem, mate. If you can't do it, sorry, we can't help you. So the bigger organizations, the big companies can afford to do that. They probably already do have offices abroad. So they would just get over this problem by having their office abroad, take up the slack. But small operators can't do that. They can't afford to open an office abroad, along with the costs of opening and having staff there and paying taxes. And anyway, we've talked about this before. So the driver shortage, together with the pandemic of workers self-isolating, has been blamed for gaps starting to appear on supermarket shelves. Supermarkets don't want empty shelves. Empty shelves is a cost. They're paying for that space. They are getting paid, I'm not an expert on supermarkets, but I know that shelf space is very important. If you want to sell your products, you want to have them at eye height, or around that area where people. That's why you always find the more expensive products at the height of your eye, while the cheaper products are down at the very bottom or at the very top. Anyway, a spokesman for the Road Haulage Association said some of our members have told us that they've had to pay sweeteners to get drivers to work for them, and these costs are passed on to the consumer. We've heard £1,000 before, but I wouldn't say it's right across the board. But driver rates are certainly increasing in the sector as vacancies grow. So somebody is benefiting here, of course. Drivers are benefiting. If you're a driver, you're going to get a lot more work, and you're going to get a lot more money. Maybe 2 or 3 times your salary. But somebody has to pay for that. Supermarkets are going to pay for it, and then supermarkets are not going to want to take that hit, so they're going to pass the price on to consumers. This is all filtered. This all filters down to the same people I said from the very beginning who are going to suffer the most from Brexit, the poor and the working class. Because Jacob Rees-Mogg, if he has to pay an extra £1 for a bottle of wine or whiskey or whatever he drinks, or I don't know if he's teetotal, whatever he drinks, it's okay for him if it costs an extra £1 or £2 or £3 or £5. It's not a problem for him. But if bread goes up in price, when people are on a fixed budget, people are on a fixed income when it comes to universal credit, for example, an extra few pence here and there makes a huge difference. So as I said before, somebody is benefiting, but somebody, of course, else is paying for this. The Road Haulage Association estimates that the shortage of drivers has risen from 60,000 to 100,000 this year due to 15,000 non-UK drivers going elsewhere as a result of Brexit. And of course, many drivers are leaving the industry because of stress. Now, some of them may come back because of these sweeteners, but this is a short-term fix. This isn't going to last forever. It isn't something you can maintain for a long period of time. It also points to a backlog of 30,000 heavy goods vehicle driver tests postponed during lockdown as a result of the impact, as well as the impact of tax changes for self-employed workers, while the pingdemic has now taken its toll. How long is this pingdemic going to last? That's what I'd like to know. The Road Haulage Association is pressing the government to allow fully vaccinated drivers and other logistics staff ordered to stay at home to continue working if they produce daily negative results. Ministers have so far resisted calls by the organisation to ease access to drivers from EU nations. Why? Because of Brexit. Why? Because they have to keep the racists happy. Because if they start to... Because they won on this. Brexit was... This problem was created. The problem of immigration was created in order to convince people to come out and vote for Brexit. I think it was back in 2009 or 2010. The EU was number 14 or something on the list of priorities people had. Immigration was very low on the list as well. But by 2015, the year of 2016, the year of the referendum, it had gone up to number 1. Immigration was number 1 or number 2, and the EU, Europe, was high priority as well. Because the public had been convinced that it was important. Not that they actually believed it was important. They were convinced by Spin, by Vote Leave, by Leave.eu, that immigration and the EU were the core issues that concern people. And if you're told continuously that these are important issues for you, then you'll start to believe it as well. And people were talking about, yeah, we need to leave the EU because they're taking away our rights, and they're sending all these people into the country who don't want to work, but they're also stealing our jobs. It's like the immigrants are coming to steal our jobs and not do our job and not do any work. And Nigel Farage, of course, was very good at selling this weird way of thinking, this oxymoron, that Immigrants are coming to both steal your jobs and sit on the dole all day. They're coming to take up all this rented accommodation, but they're also going to going to take this accommodation and have it paid for them by the state. They were driving up wages, but also driving down wages. Brexit could be used to answer any question. Immigration could have been used to solve. Ending immigration could be used to solve any problem. That was the Brexit. That's how it worked for Brexit. Anyway, let's move on. Let me see. So staying with the pandemic, it seems things... No, I want to show you this one first. Actually, let me read more of your comments before you guys make the stream. Wow, 507 viewers. Smash that like button. Wow, we're almost... I think the highest number we got on the stream one night was... not with a guest. I think it was about 800 viewers. So it'd be great to get up to that again. But 500, that's amazing. That's the highest number, I think, this year so far. It's a policy that barely affects anyone. Make them poor, invent some enemies, promise to protect them from the invented enemies, get elected, and never solve anything. Aaron is correct. Monkeytron, great to see you on the stream. Just give those heavy goods vehicle drivers a 1% pay rise. I wanted to show you a video. I don't have it now, but it was from GB News, where there was a lady from GB News. I don't remember her name. Oh my God. She was basically saying that the NHS staff should be happy with their 3% pay rise because nobody else is getting a pay rise. So they should be grateful for it. People who've put their lives on the line over the last year, many people who have lost their lives because they didn't have the support the government lied that they had. The government lied to them that they had provided support to them when they didn't. The government put them in a position where they were going into a danger zone without proper protection. We don't send soldiers to war if the soldiers are not prepared. If they don't have the right equipment, they don't have the right protections. We don't send them into those battlefields. But it was okay to send doctors and nurses and other medical staff knowing that they were not prepared, but pretending that they were. You know, if you were to say, look, I'm sorry, we weren't able to get the PPE we needed because it wasn't available. But of course we saw that through exercise sickness that the government were told to prepare for a pandemic. They were told to replace PPE that was out of date. And they decided, to hell with that, we're not going to do that. Because it's too expensive. We don't want to spend money on something that isn't going to benefit some Tory. We'll do it later on when there's the pandemic. Then we can order PPE. We can hand out contracts to people who don't know how to make PPE or who have never made PPE. Thon, thank you so much for that super chat. Brexiteers don't care about the economic impact. It's all about keeping black and brown people away. Yes. Unfortunately, that's true. Not just brown, but anyone with a foreign accent. I remember a story, a true story, I think it was, of a couple who were sitting on a train and they were speaking to each other in their native language. And someone got up and told them to get off and told them to get back to their own country. The language those two people were speaking was Welsh. So, like, okay, we have to get back to our own country. In a sense, yes, we have to go. I think it was in London. So, yes, maybe, they should get back to Wales. But the idea, it was you're speaking a foreign language. We've got our Brexit now. You have to go back to your own country. So it's not just black and brown people, but anyone who appears foreign. It's anyone who's not Little English, Little England. I thought Tories liked heroes. Yes. Greetings from Munster in Germany. Great to have you on, Gil. Good to see you. I hope you're having a great night. I'm from Ulster. Michael McGoldrick, great to see you, Michael. Unions won 15%. Look, I think there could have been something in between 3% and 15%. Look, the NHS staff, I think they deserved a huge bonus for what they've gone through over the last year. Can you imagine, a war was fought and soldiers went out and defended the country. And some of them came back, some of them did not come back. But you can imagine the ones who did come back. Do you think the country would have said to them, I'm sorry, we're only going to give you a pay increase that's less than inflation? No, they would be treated as heroes. Now, I know that the opposite to that, or not the opposite, something related to that, is many people put their lives on the line. People in supermarkets, people in driving courier vans, delivering products to people's homes. That's the difference with that, is that's the private sector. The government don't have control over the wages there. But they do have control over the wages of people in the public sector, in the NHS. And the double insult was not just that they're going to give them 3%, which is barely enough to cover the price of inflation. The money is coming out of the NHS itself. So there's no real extra money for this. There is no increase in money from the state, from the government, to help out these people, to pay them the right wage. Any increase is coming from the NHS budget. When the government said we're going to stand by the NHS, I really wish the Labour Party would highlight this, would attack Boris Johnson every time he's in the House of Commons on things like this. Because the NHS is being insulted. The public care about the NHS. I don't believe the public would be happy to throw the NHS under the bus. I think that's limited to trolls on the internet and people sitting in comfortable offices in GB News or on talk radio. I don't think these people represent the general public. I think the vast majority of people want the NHS paid the wages that they deserve. At least until the pandemic is over. Then we can get back to some sort of normality. They did the last teacher pay increase from within existing budgets too. So what we do is we pretend to pay people more, but in reality we're not. But we're getting away with saying, look, we paid people more. Look, we gave them a great pay increase. But we're not paying them, in a sense, more because we're taking it from the people who need it also. The students need the money. The schools need the money in regards to education. The hospitals need the money. There are treatments that could be cancelled because there isn't sufficient cash available. But the government will say, but we paid the NHS staff. They wash their hands from the situation. Anyway, let's continue. Sorry, I wanted to show you one moment.
And bring you breaking news.
So it seems that the cases in Britain are dropping. But the number of deaths are increasing. But we've seen last week how Boris Johnson really opened the floodgates with Freedom Day. So why are cases dropping?
The official daily COVID figures have just been released. And the UK has today recorded the highest number of deaths since March. There have been a further 23,511 new cases of COVID reported in the latest 24-hour period. It's the 7th day in a row that cases have dropped. But as I said, a further 131 people have died from COVID-19, the highest number since the 17th of March this year. That brings the total number of people who have died within 28 days of a positive COVID test. That figure now stands at 129,303. Our latest figures given for the vaccination programme as well. 64,585 first doses of a vaccine have been given out, and 171,676 people have received a second dose. 37.4 million people are now fully vaccinated against COVID-19. Well, let's bring in our correspondent Ivor Bennett, who is in the newsroom now to talk about those figures. So, Ivor, case numbers are falling day by day, but the number of people going to hospital going up, and the number of deaths as well.
Yeah, so good news and bad news with today's lot of figures, I'd say. Cases, as you say, falling now for a seventh day in a row. The 23,511 is approximately half the numbers we were seeing this time a week ago. It's also way down on the 100,000 we were told to expect that we could see in the third wave. But daily case numbers are, of course, only one piece of the puzzle. The deaths and the hospital admissions are the other, and both of those metrics are going in the wrong direction. 131 deaths recorded within 28 days of a positive test today is the first time we've gone over 100 deaths since March 23rd, the highest number since March 17th, so a good 3 months ago. It's still very low, we should say, compared to what we were seeing at the height of the pandemic, but still, it is a rise nonetheless, going in the wrong direction, and week on week, deaths have now risen by 40% in the last 7 days, so quite a significant increase there. And it means the spike in cases we had been seeing is most certainly starting to trickle through to deaths. The same goes for hospital admissions too. 945 people admitted on July the 22nd, which is the most recent day we have data for. Again, that's way down on what we saw in the peak of the pandemic, but it is still the highest number of daily COVID admissions in hospitals since the end of February, and week on.
Yeah, deaths trail peak by 3 weeks. So we're going to see, we're going to have to wait for 3 weeks before we see the full data. Paul says it's early days still. I hope this is a sign of some good news, that cases are going down. I just find it strange that by easing the restrictions, cases are going down. Why is that the case? Why is that happening? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I hope that's the case. I hope that cases are going down. That means that, yes, of course, there are going to be the consequences in a week or 2 or 3 weeks time, but hopefully it won't be too serious. So I want to show you this report from Channel 4 News about, so as cases are still quite high now, it means that some people have to self-isolate. Now, the government has decided that they're going to allow certain people to be exempt from isolation. Well, this is a company called Iceland, a supermarket in the UK and in other parts of in the British Isles, actually in Ireland as well. They're a bit concerned about who can self-isolate.
COVID cases have fallen for the 7th day in a row across the UK, but the number of deaths has risen to its highest level in more than 4 months. Latest figures show there were 23,500 new cases in the last 24 hours. 131 deaths were reported, while the number of COVID patients in hospital has also gone up. Meanwhile, many firms say they're worried about how the rules on self-isolation have been handled. Our business correspondent Paul McNamara has been talking to the boss of Iceland, who's got deep concerns about the promised new testing regime. Paul, what's he telling you?
Yeah, well, daily the government is announcing more and more exemptions for more and more industries or key workers who would not have to self-isolate if they get pinged, provided that they can get tested.
Alexis, thank you so much for that super chat. Did I miss another super chat? Let me just double check. No. Okay, sorry. Alexis says, will you do a live stream with Graham Hughes? I will definitely do a live stream with Graham Hughes. The problem is I have a long list of people I need to do a live stream with. I did one some time ago with Graham, but I'd love to do one again with Graham. Graham is a huge amount of fun. But I definitely will try and work something out. I'm really far behind the schedule with live streams. I'm going to try and fit people in where I can, because I've made promises to people, both to them for the live streams and to you guys. So I really need to fulfill those promises. Thanks so much for that super chat. I definitely will be doing something with Graham, I promise.
daily. This is to keep the nation ticking over. Remember the latest statistic, there were more than 600,000 people self-isolating. And then we started to see those pictures emerging last week of supermarket shelves emptying. And supermarket depots were the very first group to be told about a week ago that they would get these, what are they called, workplace daily contact testing sites. Well, the boss of Iceland has just told me, almost a week later, he hasn't seen any of these sites.
We just don't have clarity on this issue. I've yet to see where these testing facilities are. I've heard, some big numbers banded around, but I don't actually know where these additional testing centres are going to be. We've not received any information about these additional testing centres.
Is it possible that Boris Johnson's government said, yeah, we're going to have these testing centres, and then people go, okay, where are they? Somewhere.
They've not yet materialised, and to me it feels a bit like spin.
He made the point that actually if you get those testing sites at depots, it's almost pointless if lots of supermarket staff stacking shelves still have to isolate. Now remember, there are two schemes. One scheme for the likes of depots that would count towards all workers, and one where if you're a firm that has a few workers that are key workers and you can email the government. Well, that second scheme also applies to Iceland. This is what Mr. Walker had to say about that.
We wrote to DEFRA last week, by the way, and we haven't heard anything back. So I hold kind of little faith in their current solution, which is that we need to write to DEFRA with named individuals asking for exemption. When you employ 30,000 people, that's simply not pragmatic.
So, Paul, what's the government got to say about all this?
Well, we put all of that to the government. A spokesperson said over 500 priority test sites have been identified. No, identified, not that they're actually going ahead, across supermarket and wholesale distribution centres, large manufacturing sites and processing plants, and businesses are now receiving tests and starting to test.
Paul, thanks very much.
So they have been identified, but they haven't actually been set up. Jim, thank you so much for that super chat. Wow, thank you so much, Jim. Very kind of you. Just got back from beer shop at local Asda. Lots of empty shelves being cleared. 2 or so aisles worth. My God. Spoke to staff. Shift manager said that it's said to do so as it looks like a good reason for them for being empty. Sorry. Spoke to staff. Shift manager said to do so. So it's better to keep them cleared. I assume this is because of is it because of the pandemic, or is it because of Brexit? It seems to be. Yeah, it seems once again there aren't enough lorry drivers because of Brexit. There are other stories of other beer producers who couldn't get their barrels to pubs because they don't have the drivers available. Thanks very much for that super chat, Jim. Cleaned, Max. What did I say? Cleared. The shelves being cleaned. Okay, sorry. A lot of empty shelves being cleaned. That's looks like a good reason for them being empty. What I read cleared. Sorry. Thanks for that. That super chat, Jim. The UK is about to lose press freedom and habeas corpus. Rosslare Europort is certainly going to become very busy as all the Irish traffic avoids the third country land bridge altogether. Yeah, and that's been happening since the beginning of the year. Evening all from King's Court, County Cavan. JR, great to see you on the stream. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has confirmed that a swastika was carved into the elevator wall of the State's Department main headquarters, and said an investigation was underway. Okay. So let's move on. I want to show you I just wanted to show you a quick video that made me very angry.
Which essentially...
This is what I call billionaire sycophancy. This is GB News, and they seem to be copying Fox News in America, because I've seen similar reports in the US when it came to billionaire worshippers. So these are people who, what I'm talking about here, people who are not billionaires, who will try to make excuses for billionaires. So we've heard recently that Jeff Bezos, the owner or the CEO or the founder, I don't know, whatever, of Amazon, spent billions of dollars to fly into Earth's orbit, spent about 5-6 minutes in 0G, and then came back down again. And now he wants to spend more money to go to the moon. And many commentators are saying, you know, Jeff Bezos, if he wanted, could end homelessness in the United States. And he'd still have lots of money left over. Jeff Bezos could end hunger, at least I think even maybe in the world, and still have money left over. Be still a billionaire, but he doesn't want to do that. But he wants to spend money on going into space. So this guy from GB News is criticizing us for criticizing Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, for example, as well.
Space travel, which essentially involves leaving Earth's gravity by means of a controlled explosion, is no safari. If it was safe, millions of people worldwide wouldn't have tuned in to watch it live. Macabre, but true. Whatever doubts you may have got about the morality of space travel, there is no doubting the bravery of these briefly weightless billionaires. It said much about Twitter that the sight of Bezos's rocket provoked quite so many phallic references from users. One Twitter account was typical, asking, do you think he might be compensating for something? There was a lot of that sort of chat going on. Everywhere there was talk of ego trips and vulgar vanity projects. Both men were castronauts, old white men paying for status symbols, spaceships as the ultimate super yachts.
In a sense, that's correct. These people have so much money that they can do whatever they want, and it's not enough. They need to go to the extreme. A lot of... You hear stories about multimillionaires crashing light aircraft, dying, you know, in a crash or whatever. And you say, why are they flying their own aircraft? Because they want the thrill. They want to go to the extreme. Because they have all the money they need. If they want to go on holiday somewhere, they can go there tomorrow. But it's boring for them. They're always looking for something more. And it's about personal gratification. It's not actually... This is about personal gratification. It's not about lifting people up, creating something great for humanity. Unless it's their name is going to be put on a plaque. That's what they want. They want to be remembered for doing something like this. They don't want to be remembered for ending world hunger or child poverty or homelessness. Wouldn't that be a better plaque to have? Wouldn't that be something better to be remembered for? I ended homelessness in the United States. Imagine that. No, I was the first or second to send a rocket into orbit. Yeah, but we've been to orbit before. Yes, but privately. Okay.
Well, neither Branson nor Bezos are blushing violets, that's true, but let's try and think rationally about this. What are they actually doing? Well, the world is full of blingy billionaires buying football clubs, spending millions on divorce lawyers and dodgy art. Most of them you've never heard of. Some were born into money. Others, like Bezos and Branson, have made it from scratch. Bezos started out with...
It's not they made it from scratch. I've said this before. In order to get to a millionaire, you need to maybe save money, invest it the right way. You can get to $1 million, okay. But to get to $1 billion, you need a corrupt system. You need government on your side. You need government providing tax exemptions for you. You need to be influencing government. Billionaires don't generally sit, you know, on private islands drinking martinis all day, disconnected from reality. In a sense, they are disconnected from reality, but they have huge influence. Jeff Bezos has huge influence over the United States government.
Nothing.
And other billionaires spend huge amounts of money making sure that they remain billionaires. It's not about humanitarian work. It's about making sure that I remain a billionaire, and I'll corrupt politicians. I'll make sure that the tax system benefits billionaires because it benefits me.
Driving his mother's Volvo, delivering books. It's a business that would one day become Amazon. He's found jobs for 1.3 million people worldwide.
It's not the... This is the response from the sycophants is, look at all the jobs he's created. He created these jobs because he wanted to create jobs, or the jobs were created as a consequence of him becoming a billionaire. How many of the people working for Amazon are billionaires? I'd love to ask this guy. So does that mean that all of these people are billionaires? Of course they're not. To get to a billionaire, you need to create almost a type of slavery at the bottom. Unfortunately, there is a type of slavery taking place in Amazon. I need a towel from my rear grease in this heat. Official Andrew Neil. I was like, who's that for a moment? Andrew, thank you so much for that super chat. Grease in this heat. Oh, very good.
And making lockdown more endurable than it might have been for many millions more. But regardless of where his money...
He didn't make lockdown... how did he say? Livable or sustainable or whatever. That was not his intention. He's not a humanitarian, okay? They want to get to a stage in Amazon where they replace staff with machines, with robots. They want to replace courier drivers with autonomous vehicles. Their goal is not to make jobs, produce employment for people, to make people into middle class workers. No, that's not their objective. I wish people would understand the objective of Amazon is not to create employment. It's not the state. Koch brothers just bought Morrison's. Oh my God. Another group of people who should just go away and stay on a private island drinking martinis all day. They would do much more for humanity if they actually did that. So guys, we're almost at the end of the stream. I just want to cover this one final story before we finish. Could be some wonderful news. We will see. Trump could be forced to testify over Capitol riot, says Liz Cheney. This is not a game. Congresswoman Liz Cheney, the former House Republican conference chair, left open the possibility of subpoenaing former President Donald Trump and current House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy as part of the hearings over the violence at the Capitol on the 6th of January. This would be amazing if Donald Trump had to go to court. Can you imagine? Andrew Neil, thank you so much for that super chat. Only GB News stands up for the super rich spaceman. At least somebody is doing it. Thank you so much for that super chat. And Hedgehog Legs, thank you so much for that beer. Great. Thank you so much. Very kind of you. So Miss Cheney suggested this, made the suggestion on Tuesday morning of on ABC's morning, Good Morning America. This is absolutely not a game. This is deadly serious, she said. There are some in my party, including Leader McCarthy, who continue to act as though this is about partisan politics. I think it's really sad. I think it's a disgrace. During the interview, Miss Cheney was asked by ABC's George Stephanopoulos what she meant by her now widely reported comment to Representative Jim Jordan, one of the top promoters of Mr. Trump's falsehoods about the 2020 election during the riot. "Get away from me, you did this." In response, the Republican Congresswoman said that her party's own leader in the House could very well be a material witness to the events of the riot. So, It would be wonderful if Donald Trump was subpoenaed to give evidence, and he had his day in court and had to go and provide evidence. I don't see it happening. It'd be wonderful to see. It would be wonderful if it happened, but we'll have to wait and see. Can you imagine the ratings? So guys, we're almost at the end of the stream. I want to say thanks so much to everyone who came on tonight. Thanks for all of the super chats. A wonderful night for super chats. Thank you so much. Greatly appreciated. Thanks to everyone who get the channel to 70,000. Next milestone, 100,000. Yes, we can make it. Thanks to everyone once again. Thanks to for smashing the like button, for your comments. Remember, you can support the channel by becoming a Patreon if you want, and you have instant access to Discord. If you can't, don't worry about that. You can also support the channel by sharing videos on social media, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok if you can. So guys, before we finish, we have our one for the road tonight, as usual.
Well, I've asked you all to stay in the house, but none of yous did it. Stop going out, heading to the beaches with your fucking barbecues and your swing ball and your frisbees, all thinking yous can shake this virus off. Stay in the house, 2 Alsatians apart, clean your hands, wear a mask. Yous have all been fucking telt now. Well, I've asked yous all.
Okay. So, Janie, once again, thank you so much once again, everyone, for coming on the stream tonight. Have a great week. I'll see you all on Friday, same bad time, same bad channel. Thanks again for the comments, for the super chats, and a massive thank you, of course, to the moderators for keeping the stream on the straight and narrow, for keeping it up and running. As always, your help is greatly appreciated. So, guys, I'll see you all on Friday. Have a great week. Take care and stay safe.